Okay, so today we will learn about exponential distribution and its maximum likelihood estimate. Okay, so we read about normal distribution and its maximum likelihood, how we calculate. Today we will read about exponential distribution. Okay. Now question is, why are we learning about different distributions? Okay. So this is the important question. Because uh, in nature and in various systems around the world, data is distributed in particular fashion. Okay, most of the data follows a normal distribution, right? So where 68 percentage is found within the first standard deviation from the mean, and so on. But some data are not in normal distribution format. Okay, especially time related data. So like, for example, if you have a if you remember from your college days, if you have capacitor, and in the capacitor there is a charge, negative charge is there, right? When you switch off the potential difference between the capacitor, so immediately the charge inside the capacitor does not die down, right? It takes some time for the charge to die down. And that time, if you see, if you plot it, that in the suppose in 1 second, this much charge was there. In 2 seconds, this much charge was there. In 3 seconds, this much charge was there. 4 seconds, this much. So if you see that, it is exponential decay, right? So whoever has gone to the linear algebra classes in our previous session, you will remember mm, about exponential decay in difference equations. If you remember difference equations that we read, so exponential decay in that time. But okay, and that is one reference just I gave you. So there can be many things accordingly. So suppose you are watching a video. So the time gap uh, between one scene and another scene can be also plotted like this. Okay. So mostly time related data measurements follow exponential pattern. Okay. So now, since they follow exponential pattern, so obviously I cannot fit a normal distribution over a measurement that takes the charge from a capacitor, right? If I do a normal distribution, it is wrong, right? Because it is not the structure, it is not the pattern in which that it never fit. Even if I find the maxima and the minima and the maximum likelihood of the standard deviation and the mean, but still that will that will be wrong, right? Because there is a better graph. There is always a better graph which is fitting the measurement better. Okay, there's a better graph. So how do we now, question is, how do we know uh, which graph or which distribution to use in which case? How do I know that? One way is that common sense is like, if the data is telling the height of the students in a class, then what will have, it will be normal distribution. Okay, if it is telling the weights of apples sold by the shopkeeper, then it will also be a normal distribution, right? Maybe a little bit skewed here and there, but it's a normal distribution. That is one common sense. Second is, you can take, what are these measurements? These measurements are nothing but training data, right? So take a sample of the data. Okay, suppose you have 10,000 data points. Take some 100 data points and plot them. Okay, and see the structure of the plot. If you get something like this, then you understand, okay, this is following normal distribution. If you first follow something like this, okay, you understand it's exponential distribution. If you find something like this, then you understand, okay, this is like a logarithmic distribution. Okay, so there is binomial distribution, there is Poisson distribution. We'll read about all those. Okay, so this is another way where you take a small sample of the data and plot it and understand that, okay, this is this kind of data. Okay, one is common sense and one is taking a sample and plotting it. Okay, so we are today talking about exponential distribution of data. Okay, so as in case of normal distribution, the area under the curve was 1. Okay, the total probability. Here also the area under the curve is 1. Okay, so if we are interested in the probability of an event happening within 0 to 5 seconds, we solve for the area under the curve from 0 to x is equal to 0 to 5. Okay, and we do an integration on this much area. This will tell us the probability that this event is happening within 0 to 5 seconds. Okay, some event, say a volcanic eruption, earthquake is happening. So the earthquake initially happens very fast, and then it slows down. So in the what is the probability of happening between 0 to 5 seconds? What is the probability of the damage? Then you calculate this area and then you get the value and tell that, okay, this is how it will be. Okay, so the equation, every distribution has an equation. Okay, normal distribution also had an equation. I showed that equation to you. Similarly, exponential distribution also has an equation. Okay, so this equation is y is equal to lambda into e to the power minus lambda x. Okay, this is the distribution equation for exponential distribution. Well, lambda is called the rate parameter. This is called the rate parameter. Okay, and is proportional to how quickly things happen. Okay, if lambda is very high, then this slope is very steep. If lambda is comparatively low value, then the slope is less steep. Okay, so this lambda decides how the slope of the exponential distribution will be. Now, in case of normal distribution, we needed two parameters to describe our distribution. One is the mean, and one is the standard deviation. So sorry, this is the standard deviation and mean. Okay, here if you see, except x and y, we have only lambda, that is one parameter that we have to figure out. If I figure out lambda, then I don't need anything else. I can know the shape and size of my graph. Okay, so it is relatively simpler in comparison to normal distribution. In normal distribution, we had to do differentiation twice, right? Once by keeping mu constant and taking differentiation over standard deviation, and second time taking differentiation over mu, keeping standard deviation constant. Okay, so this way we are finding both values. But here there is only one parameter, so we will be only dy by d lambda we will be doing. That's it, nothing else. Okay, this is the only one. This one should be equal to 0, and whichever value will give that will be the maximum likelihood value for that exponential distribution, right? So I I hope you guys can relate this with the normal distribution, but I will still do it. So how was it happening? How was it happening? If you remember, um, if you remember, in our normal distribution, in case of likelihood, so some exponential distribution, this will be data point is x1, right? Right. So it's just the opposite of probability. So probability is, what is the probability of getting x1 given this lambda? Likelihood is the just the opposite of that. What is the likelihood of lambda given this x1, right? If you remember from our discussion in the last class, we discussed about this thoroughly, that in likelihood the measurements are constant. What changes is the metadata parameters or the config parameters like lambda, in this case standard deviation, mean. But in probability, the metadata parameters are constant, but the variables change, x1, x2, x3, like this. Okay. So what is the probability that I will get x1 given this lambda? Okay. But in likelihood, it is just the opposite. What is the likelihood that I will have lambda as the value for the exponential distribution given this measurement? Okay. And this is nothing but the y value. This is equal to lambda into e to the power minus lambda. In place of x, I will write x1. Okay. So I'll solve it and I'll get, so if that this is the equation and this is x1, so this will be some value y1, and this one will be, so the likelihood will be equal to y1. Okay, this is x1. Okay, so very simple. Now what is the likelihood of having lambda given two measurements, x1 and x2? Okay, this is also very easy. Just multiply lambda e power minus lambda x1 into lambda e minus lambda x2. Okay, just multiply. That means what? If I have x1, x2 like this till xn measurements, then I will multiply this one n times, right? I will multiply this one m times. Then what will be my formula? So if I say lambda, sorry, L lambda given x1 till xn, this will be equal to lambda to the power n into e to the power minus lambda x1 plus x2 plus dot 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 xn, right? This will be my likelihood value, and the derivative of this one should be equal to 0. So the derivative of this one with respect to what? Lambda should be equal to 0. So d of this one with respect to d lambda should be equal to 0. So if we solve this, then what we get is lambda is equal to n by summation of x1 to xn. Okay. So lambda is nothing but the summation of n by the summation of x1 to xn. Okay. So suppose you have n measurements, right? So suppose you are doing like this, the capacitor is there, and you take at first second, 1 second you take a measurement, 2 second you take a measurement, 3 second you take a measurement, 4 second you take a measurement. Suppose you take only these 4 measurements, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you take 4 measurements. So n is equal to 4, and get the corresponding values of x1. 1 x1, so lambda will be equal to 4 by 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. This will be the value of lambda. That means what? With this value of lambda, I will fit the exponential distribution for this measurement the best, right? I can have many types of exponential distributions, right? I can have many types of exponential distributions. Which one will be the best fit for this one? Which one will be the best fit for this one? The one having lambda is equal to 4 by 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. That exponential distribution will be the best fit for this measurement. Now, when I get this value and my distribution, then what happens? I get a graph, I get a distribution. So I can predict at times 10 seconds also what will be the value of y. I can predict because I know this lambda now. Earlier, I did not know a lambda. What I had just 4 measurements. Okay. From those 4 measurements, I figured out the value of lambda. And from this value of lambda, I figured out the shape of my exponential distribution. Now I have a model. This is a model. This is a statistical model, right? This is a statistical model, exponential statistical model. So now since I have the graph, so I can do regression. I can predict values. I can take probabilities. I can do a lot of things, right? What is the probability that the event will happen between 2 to 4 seconds? I can take the area under this curve and give the answer. I am able to do that because I know the value of lambda, right? If I didn't know the value of lambda, then I don't know the distribution will be like this, it will be like this, it will be like this, how it will be, I don't know. Since I know lambda, I know, okay, this one is the one. Okay. Same way for normal distribution that we read. Okay. In normal distribution, we needed 2 parameters to be discovered. That was mean and standard deviation. And in case of exponential distribution, we need only 1, that is lambda. Okay. So this is the way we will get the maximum likelihood for exponential distribution. Okay. Any doubts? Okay. So now we will go to another one distribution. This is called binomial distribution. Binomial distribution. By the name binomial, you already understand that it is telling something about 2 things. Okay. So 2 things are always involved in a binomial distribution. Okay. So mostly in a book example, if you consider example like a book, then it will be head, tail, coin flipping. Okay, that type of example. Because either you can have head or you can have tail. then how many number of heads, how many number of tails, those kind of things will happen. Okay, so and from there one distribution will occur. If you flip the coin 20 times, how many times you will get head and how many times you will get tail? There is a, you count those measurements, plot that measurement. That plot is a distribution, and that is a binomial distribution. But let us take a very realistic example, that whether we want to know that whether people like BMW more or Mercedes more. Okay, so we'll represent BMW by B and Mercedes by M. We want to know in a polling whether people like BMW more or Mercedes more. Okay. So what we will do? We will go and start asking people. So what do you like? What do you like? Some people will say BMW, some people will say Mercedes. Say that 4 people said BMW and 3 people said Mercedes. Okay. If we have this data, so that means what? We asked how many people? 7 people. We asked randomly, we asked 7 people. And out of those, 4 people said that BMW is good, 3 people said Mercedes is good. Is this enough to be confident that most people like BMW? Is this data enough to make a confident guess that most of the people like BMW? Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe not. If I ask another 7 people, maybe these 4 people will say Mercedes and 3 people will say BMW. If I ask another 7 people, then they may say 5 people may say Mercedes, 2 people may say BMW. So how do I know what is my sample, how many people I will ask, and what is the distribution, so that I can make an intelligent guess and statistical guess, not a just a hunch. Okay, to get to the bottom of this mystery, we need to get a sense of what to expect if there is no preference. This is important thing. No preference. Preference. Right. No preference means if you are given, means everything has a equal probability of getting picked up. Okay, we need to get a sense of what to expect if there is no preference. Then we determine in our survey results, if our survey results fit those expectations. If not, then we reject the idea that both are equally liked by the people. That means what? That we tell that we start with an assumption that there is no preference. Okay, there is no preference, and I'll go and randomly ask people. Okay, while I'm asking these first 7 people, I will not keep a preference in mind that, oh, maybe people are BMW inclined towards BMW. I will give equal chances to both, that there is a chance that 50% people will say BMW, 50% people will say Mercedes. Now let's go and ask. Okay, then we'll make our survey. Survey means asking the questions to the people. Now, if this survey fit our expectations, then fine. If it does not fit our expectation, then we reject the idea that they are equally loved. means there is no preference. Okay, let me explain it much more. Okay, so let's start with a very super simple example. Okay, let's say I asked 3 people. Okay, 7 people is little more. I asked only 3 people. The first person said BMW, the second person said BMW, and the third person said Mercedes. Okay, if people really didn't prefer one over the other, then we will assume that there is a 50% chance that they will pick Mercedes and 50% chance that they will pick BMW, right? If we don't give, if we have an assumption or hypothesis that there is no preference, okay, then 50-50 chance is there that anything can be picked up. Okay, so keep in mind that thing. We can then calculate the probability of the first 2 person randomly choosing BMW and the third person randomly choosing Mercedes. Assuming there is no real preference, the probability of the first person choosing BMW is what? Can anybody say this value? Assuming there is no preference and 50%. There are good 0.5. What is the probability that this one will be again BMW? Again 0.5. Because this is what, this is one person, this is one person, this is one person. I am assuming that these persons have no preference. So each has a 0.5 probability of asking. So that means BBM, this order, or in this order, if I have to people have 2 people as selecting BMW and 1 person selecting Mercedes, then this one will be equal to into 0.125 probability. So that means if I give, if I have no preference, then 2 people selecting BMW and 1 person selecting Mercedes in this order, only in this order, is 12.5%, right? This is this is the product rule of the probabilities I told you, right? So first person probability is 0.5, second person probability is 0.5, third person probability is 0.5. Now this order, in this order, that I will what is the probability that this order will be maintained, that first person will tell BMW, second person will tell BMW, third person will tell Mercedes, is 12.5%. But what is the probability that 2 persons will always say BMW and 1 person will say Mercedes? That means I am removing the order constraint now. So that means B, M, B also can happen. M, B, B can also happen, right? So that means if I include all of these plus, that means this all is the probability of a person choosing 2 BMWs and 1 Mercedes in any order. That means this one into 3, right? So which is equal to 0.375, 37.5%. That means if I keep the constraint of the order, then each is 12.5%. But if I remove the order and only tell that I will ask 3 people, I need 2 people to tell BMW and 1 person to tell Mercedes, then that becomes 37.5%. And this is called the binomial distribution calculation. probability, and this is given by a formula like this. Just bear with the formula for now. It looks very nasty, but I'll explain you. It is not that difficult. Okay. So this is the formula for, this is X. Okay. This is the formula for binomial distribution. Now, what is X? X is the number of people who preferred BMW, which is 2. What is N? N is the total number of people we asked, that is 3. What is P? P is the probability that someone will pick a BMW. Since we were following no preference, this is 0.5. Okay. So X, N, P. Now you see here, if I replace these things here, it will become 3 factorial by 2 factorial into 3 minus 2 factorial, which is equal to nothing but 3, right? So this entire value is equal to 3. Okay. Now if I compare this here, this 3 is what is this one. So that means this part of the formula, n factorial by x factorial into n minus x factorial, tells the different orders, all the possible combinations that can happen, right? So here 3 combinations were possible, right? So when I solved this came 3. So this part of the formula represents the all the possible combinations that can happen. Okay. Now let's understand what is p to the power x. What is p to the power x? P is 0.5 and x is 2. Okay. P to the power x. Now 1 minus p into 1 minus p is also 0.5. N minus x is 1. So here 0.5 to the power 2 means the 2 BMWs that always comes in every selection. P to the power x is the first, the probability of selecting one item how many times? X times. There are 2 items, right? Always it is binomial distribution. Understand? There are 2 items always. What is the probability of picking the first item x times? That is p to the power x. What is 1 minus p to the power n minus x? Is the probability of picking the other item n minus x times, right? So total, how many times I have picked? N times. Total how many times I have picked? I have, how many people I have asked? 3 people, right? Every time I have asked 3 people. So out of which first one tells that the probability of picking the first item x times. then what remains? The probability of picking the other item n minus x times, right? So this is nothing but the probability of picking the first item x times. This is nothing but the probability of picking the item other item n minus x times. Okay, so you see b 0.5 into 0.5. This is this one 0.5 square, and this is 0.5. This is 1. And this one multiplied, this whole multiplied by 3, because we can have in the, if the order is important, then we will have 3 combinations in which 3 orders, combination of orders that we can select, which is given by this n factorial by x factorial into n minus x factorial, this formula. So that means what? Binomial distribution tells you that you can make n choices, which is divided into 2 parts. You can make n choices, or you can make n measurements. Sorry, you can make n measurements, which will be divided into only 2 parts. Either yes, no, true, false, A, B, BMW, Mercedes, Apple, orange, like this. So you will make n measurements. Here measurement was asking a person. You can also do a measurement like take seeing the fruit, what it is, picking of the fruit, apple or orange. That is also a measurement. So we'll make n measurements, out of which there will be only 2 parts, x and n minus x. Obviously, if there are total n measurements and one part is x, then the other part is n minus x. Because if I add these 2, then this should be equal to n, right? So I have n measurements and I have 2 parts, x and n minus x, given that there is either a preference or there is no preference. If there is no preference, then p is 0.5. If there is a preference of what? Of x. If this was little biased, say this was little, this experiment, it was little biased. From starting only we had a bias that people like BMW more. 60% people like the BMW more. So P will be 0.6 in that case, and X will be for BMW. N minus X will be for Mercedes. But 0.6 will be for BMW, because we have a bias here. We have a preference. Since this example had no preference, so it was 0.5. Okay, got it? So now this formula says the probability of choosing X, given you made n measurements and you have an initial preference of probability P, is this formula. Again, I'll tell it. What is the probability that you will choose X from given n measurements with the probability of preference of choosing X as P? So this is our probability formula. What will be the likelihood formula? Just the opposite. N P given x1 dot xn, right? Our likelihood will be just the opposite. Given xn measurements, what are the values of n and p, right? What are the values of n and p given the measurements x1 to xn? So here, what is the, who can say what is the variable here that we need to find out? What is the variable here? N or P, which one? Or both?
Both.
Not both. Because N is the number of choices. That is not something that will determine the shape of the distribution, right? What will determine the shape of the distribution is this probability, the initial preference. Okay, the initial preference will choose the shape of the binomial distribution's probability. Okay, so here is only one variable that we have to find, just like exponential distribution. We have to find here, in case of binomial distribution, we have to find only one parameter, that is P. So our formula is d by dp L given n, P is variable, given x1 to xn. Now, if you solve this is long mathematics is there, which I am completely omitting. P is equal to x by n is the formula. So the probability is equal to x by n, means how many number of success by how many number of trials. Okay, depends on which one you call success. If a person loves BMW is success, then x is success and n minus x is failure, because it is binomial. So that's why success or failure, same BMW or Mercedes, Apple or orange. Okay, so in generic terms, it is told that P is equal to the value of number of successes divided by the total number of trials. Okay, so this is, so in our case, what was x? X was equal to 2, and how many trials? 3. So the P is equal to 2 by 3, right? So we had, so this one will be the value of P. Accordingly, when we substitute the binomial distribution also looks a little bit like normal distribution. Okay, so it will, the P value will, you can go to actually binomial distribution plot. You see, this is the binomial distribution. This looks like little bit looks like yeah, normal distribution. Not little bit, almost looks like normal distribution. Okay, so depending on the value of P, okay, you will see how it is, what is the shape. Okay, and after that, same thing is applicable again. After that, once you get the graph, same thing applicable. You got the model, you can do regression, you can predict the future, you can predict the probability, you can calculate the graph under the curve, you can do a lot of things, right? So we learned about normal distribution, we learned about exponential distribution, we learned about binomial distribution, we learned about Poisson distribution, and one more distribution I think will be there. That much is enough for statistical modeling. Okay, so how to statistically model a solution, that is enough. Okay, after that we will move to machine learning. Machine learning means algorithm based machine learnings, like support vector machines, k-nearest neighbors, and others. Okay, once machine learning is over, then we'll move to deep learning. And in deep learning, then we'll go to divide NLPs, computer vision, IoT, and in NLP, what are the models? In computer vision, what are the models? We will pick up one model and we'll understand the entire architecture of the model. Why the model is designed like this, okay? And then we will take one research paper and then we will try to code that in Python, okay? So a lot of things to do. So as of now, we have once Python Poisson distribution is completed. I did not give you that project work or question which I told you last class, because I thought I'll complete all the distributions first and then I will give you a question. Okay. So we'll complete Poisson distribution tomorrow afternoon. Sunday, we will not read any theory. Okay. We will practice. We will practice. I will give you measurements and you will fit a particular distribution to that measurement. And after fitting, you will give answers to questions which are predictive questions, right? Future questions. Okay. Okay. Any doubt?
No, sure.
Okay. Siddharth, clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay. Deepika, Imran, both clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Good day.